Alright, guys, I got a really spicy game for you here today. This is a game that I just played that I sadly did not record live. Uh, I really should have, but it's about 9 o'clock at the time of recording this, and I was just playing a couple of warm up games. I was originally intending to upload ranked today, but I didn't feel like playing one game and then getting pissed off. So I figured I would play two games, one random and then one ranked, and then get pissed off. But anyway, this is the first game that I played today, and it is a really nice game. So first things first, taking a look at the matchmaking here. Threats to my ship. There is no radar to speak of. Venezia can be very nasty if it gets that sap salvo off. Rune is going to be annoying. Tashkent, Jaeger, and Kagero for destroyers. A U-2501 and a Salmon for submarines. Now, first, I actually originally intended to have this game with F3s mounted, the 8 kilometer torpedoes, but I did not. I had the 12 kilometer torpedoes mounted, which is not really going to play a significant role in this game. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Now, my original plan right now is I was originally going to just let this Yamato and the Janan go for this buff right here. And my goal was to just charge forward. And I wanted to kind of get out onto the 10 line right here. And try and get maybe a torpedo spot. But above that, I wanted to just get early spots on what ships they have over here. I do spot the Rune. I believe it's the Kagero who ends up spotting that GK. And right about here, a little bit... No, it's about to happen in a few seconds. There it is. That submarine. Now, this is a very crucial moment. You saw how that submarine got detected and immediately dove. When you're playing a destroyer, you do really have to train yourself to not immediately shoot at a submarine. And you can see right here, I really want to do it, and I just straight up cannot. And the reason I can't is because the same way that he dove before, he can just do the exact same thing again. So, if I were to shoot right here, all this submarine has to do is dive, and then he's home free. And this Rune and the Tashkent would have had me spotted. Now that that Rune has left my gun range, I could open up on this submarine if I wanted to, but I'm still just waiting for him to dive because he is coming under fire from my friendly Janan. So that is a very important lesson when you're playing cat and mouse games with a submarine. If you're mindful and you're paying attention to what ships are nearby and what your gun bloom is, if shooting that submarine, if a submarine surfaces, right, and it still has battery remaining, you almost cannot shoot at it because as soon as you do, that submarine is just going to dive, and then you're just going to be hard spotted by your own gun bloom for a further 20 seconds while the submarine's team shoots at you for free. So right now, I'm expecting that Tashkent to loop back towards his smoke. So that's what those torpedoes are meant for. But unfortunately, this submarine does end up detecting those, which is a little unfortunate. The mod's not showing it, but those torpedoes were detected there, which is a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. If nothing else, it means that Tashkent's not allowed to sit in or near the smoke. It has to use it a little bit behind and limit his range. Just because if he tries to get closer into the smoke screen, he's going to run the risk of eating a shit ton of torps. Now, I really could try and turn around and fight this submarine. I could try and go in for a depth charge attack on him, but the reason I'm not doing that is because they have 3 ships and 4 ships right here, 3 of which have hydro. They have the Grosser Kurfürst, the Pommern, and the Rune, which naturally, I think, are literally the only ships on their entire team that have hydro. And all 3 of them are on this side, so go figure. So, right now, all I'm looking at is trying to get a torpedo shot on this Grosser Kurfürst, and I am being greedy here, and I am wanting to try and get a little bit further this way towards the direction of my Jinan, because I want this GK to have to turn in and be angled to this Yamato right here, and then since I'll be over here, he'll be showing broadside to me. And as soon as these Jinan torpedoes go past, I'm like, okay, those Jinan torpedoes are on course for the GK already. I'm going to turn my attention to this Pommern, who is more likely to not be running hydro, because the last time I was spotted, I was like way up here and seen kiting away. So he's probably running hydro, but if he's not, I wouldn't be surprised. But I figure it's less likely for him to be running it than this GK to not be running it. And while all this is going on, we have a fucking Rune that's just full sending it. And I do have to kind of just haul ass a little bit and try and get around this island and away from this Rune. And I am just going to snap a quick torpedo shot off. I really can't afford to wait longer, just because I can't just be turning broadside and heading in one direction where this Rune is charging straight at me, because I will be detected there. So a little bit of a wasted torpedo salvo, but the nice thing about Yugamo in particular is she does have a pretty fast torpedo reload. As you can see right there, that is a 69-second reload now. Nice. But do factor in that there are arms race buffs active right there as well. So that is playing a little bit of a factor. But even without those, the access to the slot 9, or the not slot 9, these tier 9 slot 6 reload module, or in this case the torpedo reload module, does lend Yugamo a fair amount of torpedo DPM. So I think the base is like 80 something seconds, around 80 seconds. I'd have to double check to get the exact number, but we do know that that is a smoke Tashkent, by the way, so the only healing that guy is coming from is from these arms race buffs. So any damage that he sustains is going to stick for a long time before, like, he'll have, like let's just say something hits this Tashkent for 18k. Let's just say I land a lucky torpedo on him. That torpedo hit, while he can't press a heal button and get that back, and the only reason he's getting it back at all is because of the buffs, but he will be out of action for a long time, or he's at least going to be hard relegated to his smoke for a long time. So I do pop a torpedo reload booster right here, because these torpedoes have been spotted by the Rune, and up to this point I have not given these guys any reason to suspect that I am a torpedo reload booster Yugamo. I mean, they might figure it from the fact that I didn't smoke up when I was being hard spotted by that submarine, but right now what these torpedoes are is this GK has already seen those torpedoes going by, so he's thinking that he's torpedo safe. And this is how I like to use torpedo reload booster. I try and use it in a way where people aren't ready for it, because if you can give people a false sense of security, in this case letting those torpedoes go by the Rune, this guy thinks he's torpedo safe because my torpedoes are spent, but I have a torpedo reload booster that he doesn't know about up until the point where it's far too late. And that's a far more efficient way of using your reload booster, is to catch people off guard more than it is trying to just launch a giant wall of 16 torpedoes, which you can do that as well if you have just like a giant fucking blob of battleships and cruisers that are all just playing grab ass behind an island, for example. You can launch a wall of torpedoes into that to pretty good success. But the way I use torpedo reload is I try and use it to surprise people. So you saw how that worked for that GK. Now, I'm being faced with a little bit of a dilemma right here. I could go after this Tashkent and submarine, or there's a Kagero out here who at this point hasn't been spotted for nearly 2 minutes. And I'm thinking I'm going to want to go after that guy. And right here, I am actually making a pretty big mistake. I am hard pushing while my guns are still rotating. So this is a very definite mistake. I should have slowed down here, waited a few extra seconds, and let all of my turrets turn, because that happens. Now we're just going to have to shoot at this Kagero until he's dead. And the nice thing right here is that this Kagero is not shooting back at me, which is a very big tell of torpedoes. So I'm expecting torpedoes to be launched ahead of me because I was full speeding right there. But instead, he did predict that pretty well. And right there, as soon as I slowed down and I saw those torpedoes, I was like, yep, I'm definitely eating at least one of these. So the way I had to mitigate that right there was I accelerated and I swung my stern into... I mean, I was going to get hit by both of them no matter what. But if I straight lined, I was going to get hit by those. So I was going to eat torpedoes almost definitely no matter what. So what I tried to do, and I did do there, is I hit both of those torpedoes right on the stern of my ship, which completely saturated that section of my ship, and that is literally what saved me there. Because you saw how much damage that first torpedo did, and then the second one did like half of that. I want to say that first one did like at least 14k, give or take, somewhere around there. But the second, it might have been like 12 or 13, but it was somewhere. It was a high number. But that first one hit and saturated my stern, and then the second one hit, and my stern then became completely saturated, and then I just had to bank on that saving me, which you just witnessed a game mechanic, and that is how you can save yourself from, well, not from eating torps, but save yourself from dying to torps if you know you're going to eat them. And here we are, just casually gunning down a Tashkent. We do manage to bag that Tashkent because he rounded that corner without knowing that we were right there. And his turrets were all pointing the wrong way, and that's the only reason I survived that. The bright side right now is that I'm alive, for one thing. Our battle, these two battleships, I'm not even going to comment on these guys. Just let this speak for themselves, okay? So I'm already telling, yeah, these battleships, they don't have a fucking clue what they're doing. So it's going to be on me to try and figure out a way to win this game. Because our battleships are not going to do it. Look at our fucking GK. He's literally on the fucking A line in the last 5 minutes of the game, in arms race, in a GK, by the way. So, anyway, like I said, I wasn't going to say anything. I'm going to try not to rant. But right here, this is a critical moment right here. We do manage to get the reset, and we do manage to dodge that ping. And we'd managed to dodge these as well. And that Venezia was very unlucky to have not killed us right there. And he does try and blind fire us, and he almost would have gotten us if we had just full sent it and accelerated. We probably might have died to that blind fire, but we didn't, so he didn't. And right now I'm just pinging this Venezia, and I'm like, hi, Iowa, please kill this fucking Venezia. And yes, that is in fact HE from the Iowa at the broadsiding Venezia. So yeah, that's unfortunate. And the limitation right here that I'm having to deal with is I cannot leave this channel because there's a Venezia just kind of chilling right there. And he's probably going to be walking towards this channel in order to get Iowa safe, and which you can see he's doing right there. He does surprise me here, though, because he just turns in and he just kind of sits on, like, this flat edge of the, of that island here, which did surprise me, because I was honestly expecting, I was really expecting him to go for that channel. And I was expecting him to go up and back around, and I was going to try and get a blind torpedo shot on him. Which, by the way, speaking of blind torpedoes, I didn't even talk about it because I was busy running my mouth. I launched torpedoes into that little section because I'm expecting that submarine to greed for that buff and trying to pick it up. Even though they're already full on health regen buffs, when you pick up buffs, it does subtract from the enemy team's score. You can see it subtracts 20 and adds 20. So I was expecting that submarine to pick up that health regen buff, which he never ended up doing. Or he does, but not until later. Yeah, there you go. You see his shotgun right there. It is a bit unfortunate we don't have turrets on that guy, but this Venezia needs to die, and our Iowa very luckily manages to burn out that that Venezia. So now it's just me versus the submarine. And it's just going to be a never-ending game of cat and mouse. And this is something you have to be really careful about dealing with submarines, is when they're kiting away from you, they really are an extremely dangerous threat. Now, okay, I'm going to pause that moment right here. I am currently pinged right now, and knowing how pings work, that the torpedoes will home in on the projected collision point between myself and my ship, or the torpedoes and my ship, rather than my ship itself. In order to mitigate the initial ping, what I did was I just straight lined for a few seconds in one direction at full speed, DCP'd the ping, and immediately turned away. So that way, any torpedoes that were in the water that were homing at that point would immediately just be sailing off to Narnia. And I do launch some blind torpedoes there, hoping that that guy might surface. Because this guy has been, throughout this entire game, his entire thing has been staying submerged, then surface, like at point blank range, aka shotgunning people. And then above that, surfacing and spotting things. And like you saw at the start, he did to me when I was talking about the trigger discipline. Now, right here, he is going to leave range, but he is also going to submerge again because he's getting shot at. And this Yamato has actually been shooting at me instead of the GK, which is honestly good for him, because he should be, because this GK is not a threat at all. And I'm just going to launch blind torpedoes, accounting that he's probably going to surface again and step into A because he has to. But anyway, back to chasing after kiting subs, in particular the 2501, because it actually has more torpedo tubes to the rear than it does to the front. So when you're chasing after a submarine, that is extremely dangerous because you're basically it's dangerous for the same reasons as uh and ignore Columbo, he's just being stupid, but it's dangerous for the same reason as pushing into a torpedo boat is dangerous. It's because you're pushing right into his trap potentially. So I am extremely hesitant to risk charging down and risking getting shotgunned. Because even with the submarine changes, I have such little health remaining that nerfed shotgunning or not, one torpedo will still be enough to kill me unless it hits my saturated stern. But it's not going to matter because we do manage to win this game. That was a really, really hard fought game. And I think the thing that is most demonstrated in this particular game is the importance of just being patient. A lot of destroyer players, especially after a start like the one I had, will get impatient, they'll want damage, and they'll do something stupid, they'll do something greedy in order to try and get damage. But the thing that you have to keep in mind, for destroyers especially, is you are a very slow operating class. Like, you're not really going to be getting just consistently farming damage all of the time unless you're like a fucking Khabarovsk or something. Uh, Even like the French destroyers don't really farm all that much. Like, you have to be willing to take your damage in increments that add up to not only being a big number at the end, but also being a very impactful number at the end. So you just have to be really patient, bide your time, and look for safe openings to make your plays, and play safe and conserve your HP to make those plays later on when they matter the most. Like you saw with that Kagero. If I had greeded to try and go after that Tashkent or the Rune or the GK, I very likely would have died to those Kagero torpedoes. So that is really the main thing I want to be the takeaway of this game is, first of all, trigger discipline, playing cat and mouse with destroyer or submarines, and when to go after them and when not to. Because in this case, I did not need to charge down that submarine, regardless of what this fucking dipshit in the Columbo says. I straight up just did not have to, because this submarine's entire game has been surfacing, spotting, maybe shotgunning, dive, surface 5 minutes later, shotgun something, maybe do some spotting, dive. So, with that past history of knowing how this submarine is played, I was able to fairly confidently play around him and know that he's going to surface. I can snap a shot off, just dodge a Yamato salvo, rinse and repeat. I did not need to try and charge that guy down because he was just going to surface in front of me. So all I had to do was be relatively torpedo safe, and we're good to go. So that is going to be it for this replay. I hope you have enjoyed this game and you learned something from it. And, well, yeah, that is going to be it for today. So I will see you tomorrow.